Welcome to another episode of Books and Bytes. Today we're embarking on a truly introspective journey as we conduct a deep dive into a captivating work, The Art of Being Alone by Renuka Gavrani.
Yeah, and this isn't your typical self-help manual, is it? The author herself says she wrote it from one heart to another. It feels very raw, very honest about something a lot of us will grapple with.
Exactly. Our mission today is really to unpack how this book fundamentally challenges our ideas, our preconceived notions about what it means to be alone.
It goes way beyond just coping with loneliness. It's more about guiding us towards embracing solitude, seeing it as a potent catalyst for self-discovery, for actual growth.
We'll be pulling out the core insights, some surprising observations, definitely, and practical strategies, too, things that can genuinely shift your perspective on your own company.
So let's get into it. The book kicks off by tackling something pretty fundamental, this societal stigma. Why is loneliness seen as like a personal failing, almost taboo?
Right. Renuka Gavrani points out how this fear of being alone is often injected into our minds really early on. Think about books, movies. Solitary characters are often the weirdos or somehow weak.
It's like we're conditioned to see it as a flaw. And this fear of judgment from others, and maybe even more so from ourselves, it holds this huge power over us.
The author highlights how we internalize these societal rules, leading to this excessive worry about what people would think.
It makes you think of that David Foster Wallace line, doesn't it? You'll stop worrying what others think about you when you realize how seldom they do. Such a liberating thought, if you can truly internalize it.
And the author is so open about her own college experience, feeling deeply lonely, even when everyone else thought she was busy having real fun.
She talks about becoming an expert at arranging things, pretending not to care, making classmates envious of her social life.
The irony is just striking. Consumed by the fear of being seen as a loner, but nobody even guessed she felt lonely. It really shows how much of that pain often starts in our own heads.
Which leads us straight into a crucial distinction. The book hammers home. Being alone and feeling lonely, they're fundamentally different things.
Being alone is, it's just a fact of life sometimes. Part of adulting, as she puts it. People come and go. That's just how it is.
It's an inherent reality we have to sort of come to terms with eventually.
And our digital world, it just amplifies the feeling of loneliness, doesn't it? Scrolling through Instagram, seeing those cute little groups of friends, the whole friendship goals thing.
Yeah, it makes it so easy to feel like the only lonely person, or maybe the only person who wasn't chosen. That curated perfection creates this illusion of universal connection.
An illusion many of us feel completely left out of.
But the book counters this so powerfully. It argues that being alone means you are with yourself. It reframes it completely, not a deficit, but a state of self-connection.
It's a call to view solitude as an advantage. She even quotes Taylor Swift, which I loved. The scary news is you are on your own now. But the cool news is you are on your own now.
It really pushes you to shift your mindset from seeing solitude as this curse to maybe, just maybe, embracing it as a privilege, a powerful state.
Okay, so if we're so afraid of being seen as that weirdo or not being chosen, what happens next? What's the fallout?
Well, the author argues we start this relentless process of morphing, trying to become some ideal version of ourselves.
Saying yes to things we actually hate, dressing uncomfortably just to fit in, even saying things that feel, cringeworthy because they aren't really us.
It's this constant, exhausting performance. And the really counterintuitive part, this people-pleasing, it leads to an even deeper, more painful kind of loneliness.
It's not just about lacking people around you then.
No, not at all. The book states it so starkly. Loneliness occurs when you cannot find yourself inside you. And that line, the most painful and scariest thing in the world is to look in the mirror and not recognize the person staring right at you.
Wow, that's profound. It's not circumstantial loneliness. It's like an alienation from your own core.
Exactly. A disconnect that runs much deeper than just being physically by yourself.
And the author's personal sharing makes it so relatable. Constantly trying to be nice, agreeing to go out when she just wanted to read, dressing up when she craved comfort.
Becoming, as she says, an expert in silencing my inner voice. It really makes you stop and think, doesn't it? What happens to the essence of you when you're always living for external approval?
So how do we get back? How do we reclaim that authentic self? The book dives into self-love, but with a really refreshing take.
Yeah, it's not about the superficial stuff, the cute shampoo bottles, as marketing might suggest. True self-love, she argues, is twofold. It's about knowing yourself and accepting yourself.
And that includes the parts we don't like, the ugly or dark stuff.
Absolutely. Our full, complex humanity. It pushes back against that constant pressure to always be good, always be nice.
She reminds us we're human, not perfectly programmed phones. We're designed to feel a whole range of emotions, not just the easy ones.
Even using villains in stories as an example, they remind us we all can be bad at times. It's about accepting all of it instead of wasting energy trying to hide parts of ourselves.
Her example of accepting her selfish side is really insightful.
It is. She realized that understanding that truth about herself allowed her to learn to use this one trait in my favor. It led to more clarity, more peace in her relationships.
So acceptance allows transformation, turning a perceived flaw into a strength almost.
Precisely. It stops you repeating those patterns of self-deception in how you relate to others, and crucially, how you relate to yourself.
And this journey of knowing yourself, it's not a quick fix, is it? Not a one-day hack.
No, the book frames it clearly as a lifelong journey. We change. Our preferences evolve, our views shift, our priorities change over time. We're not static.
So where does this journey begin?
It starts with coming face-to-face with your mind. She talks about her COVID lockdown experience, her mind just generating this constant stream of thoughts, worries.
Like a nonstop internal monologue.
Exactly. And she realized, echoing Rollo May, that many people suffer from the fear of finding oneself alone, and so they don't find themselves at all. The fear keeps us from looking inward.
So the antidote is mindfulness.
Essentially, yes. Learning to read your thoughts like you were reading a classic book. Observing that inner world without immediate judgment rather than constantly trying to suppress it.
Then, building on that, the book urges us to know thyself beyond just labels.
Right. She shares that great story about the professor challenging students to talk about themselves without using any worldly tags, job titles, relationship status, achievements.
Imagine how hard that would be. And how revealing.
She uses that powerful analogy of babies, they're free from all the worldly tags. They don't judge based on status or past mistakes.
We lose that freedom as we collect these external labels, whether they're positive or negative, like ugly or author. We let them define us.
And the goal, the book suggests, is to become, in a way, undefinable. To be so much more than any single label can capture. To let people wonder, because you're complex.
Okay, this next bit is really interesting. If figuring out who you are feels too big, start with who you are not.
Yes. Define who you are not and who you don't want to be. It's surprisingly effective for clarifying your values, your principles, even if they go against the grain.
Like her example of choosing not to drink in college, just knowing deep down, I am not this.
Exactly. But she adds a crucial piece of advice. While this self-knowledge is for you, be careful who you share it with. Never share those things with anyone casually.
Why is that?
Because, as she puts it rather bluntly, the world is full of clowns, meaning not everyone have the openness or maturity to understand or respect those deeply personal boundaries or insights. Keep it for your own clarity first.
Right, okay. So the book then starts weaving all this together, beginning with that Wayne Dyer quote.
You cannot be lonely if you like the person you're alone with. It perfectly sets up the next phase.
Which dives into a truth that can be, well, a bit harsh, but ultimately freeing.
That you cannot expect people to stay forever. Friendships change. Relationships end or evolve. It's part of life's journey. Everyone's on their own path, with different goals.
The idea of forever, especially people being available 24/7, she calls it a fantasy that you have bought from some random series. A bit of a reality check.
It is. And her stories about friends drifting after college are so relatable. Not out of badness, just life changes, priorities shift, environments differ.
Accepting that natural ebb and flow seems key to finding peace in solitude.
Absolutely. Which brings it back to that core message. You are on your own now. And when you accept that, solitude stops being a curse. It becomes a privilege.
And being with others becomes a bonus, not something you desperately need to escape yourself.
Exactly. You build this strong inner core first, then connections with others flow from a place of fullness, not neediness.
Okay, let's shift gears a bit. How do we actually practice this? The book calls it the art of being alone.
Yeah, and it looks at historical figures who actively used solitude for greatness, for deeper connection.
Like Georgia O'Keeffe.
Right. Moving to the New Mexico desert to live deliciously alone, finding her inspiration there. Or Nikola Tesla, believing solitude was the secret of invention.
Even Van Gogh, channeling his intense experiences, including loneliness, into his incredible art.
It's a real contrast, isn't it? We often see solitude as something to run from, But these figures actively sought it out to connect with their inner world, to create.
The author argues that in our hyper-distracted world, focus is a new luxury. Social media constantly playing on our need for validation.
So how do we cultivate that focus, that art? The book gives 3 pillars. The first one is digest, reflect, and reset.
Right, the analogy of eating nonstop. You wouldn't do that to your body, so why treat your brain like a dustbin, just constantly consuming information without processing?
Exactly. Your brain needs that conscious solitude to actually digest what you've taken in without constant external noise. Otherwise, she warns, you don't think anymore.
Just reacting, not reflecting.
Pretty much. She urges a daily detox for your brain, filter out the noise, form your own opinions.
Okay, pillar number 2, the art of getting bored. This feels so countercultural.
It really does. But she found her best ideas came when she wasn't actively seeking them, when she was just bored, doing nothing.
So boredom isn't just emptiness, it's potential.
It's framed as a form of meditation almost, building self-control against constant cheap entertainment and that pull for external validation. Mindful boredom, she says, can reward you with amazing creativity.
Creating space for your own thoughts to surface.
Precisely. And the third pillar flows from that. Learn to belong to yourself.
Because nothing stays forever, people move on.
Yeah.
So you need that internal anchor.
Right. She uses that example of her friend whose life completely revolved around her boyfriend. When he left, she felt totally empty.
So the advice is,
make your life like a garden. Cultivate diverse interests, hobbies, different kinds of relationships. So love is always around you in every form, stemming from a rich inner life, not just dependence on one person.
building resilience, really.
Exactly. Okay, so we're shifting from loneliness to solitude. How do we make this a real growth period?
The book suggests reframing it entirely. Choose to be your own best friend. Stand by yourself.
And even more actively, make your goals and dreams your best bud. See that alone time not as escape, but as opportunity, a luxury, a lifestyle to level up your game.
But first, you need to know where you're going, right? If you don't know where you want to go, how will you ever reach there?
Yeah, she critiques how easily we just copy society's vague definitions of success. The big house, the money, the perfect travel photos. If we're all different, why should our definitions be the same?
So we need to define your definitions for everything. Happiness, success.
Yes. Don't just take them from YouTube or wherever. Find it in your heart. Use your own critical thinking. Don't just passively accept societal norms. Discern what's true for you.
Okay, so to build that personally defined dream life, where do we start practically?
First, brutal honesty. Identify what you don't like about your life right now. No sugarcoating. Sometimes, she says, too much self-love can actually obscure reality if it stops genuine reflection.
A bit of tough love, then.
A bit. Then comes the power of one thing. Don't try to change everything at once that leads to burnout. Focus on one thing at a time.
Like her journey becoming a writer, one article a day.
Exactly. That single, consistent action built incredible momentum and confidence. So the challenge is, find your one big issue, the thing that really holds you back.
And then?
Take one big action. Make it super concrete, super clear. Like write 10 pages every day. No complex tracking, just consistent, focused action.
Simple but powerful.
And finally, know your nature and sink into your activities. Don't force yourself into routines that just don't fit you. Your body clock, your working style.
Like her being a night owl and choosing enjoyable exercise like dancing, not forcing the gym.
Right. The key is make things fun. Turn self-improvement from a chore into something sustainable, something you actually look forward to.
Okay, so how do we make our own company genuinely addictive, as compelling as being with people we love?
First step, create multiple sources of joy. We often lose that childlike ability to find joy spontaneously, waiting for others to entertain us.
Like her finding joy in simple evening walks in her small town.
Yes. It's about consciously, intentionally creating those sources of joy, big or small, rather than passively waiting for happiness to arrive.
Makes sense. What's next?
Learn new W skills and challenge yourself. Her example of learning crocheting, something she'd wanted to do for years, it brought excitement, growth.
It's not about lack of time, she argues, but the habit of making silly excuses.
Pretty much. Actively cultivating curiosity, pushing yourself gently out of your comfort zone. And third, super important, feed your brain with knowledge.
Reading, like she did, transforming her life with books.
Absolutely. Books, podcasts, TED Talks, whatever feeds your mind. She suggests keeping a Feeding My Mind journal or folder to track what you're learning. It ensures constant internal stimulation, continuous growth.
And the final big message, the one that really ties it all together.
Stop waiting. Stop waiting for others to do things with you for you. Do the things that you wanted to do with others with yourself. Radical self-reliance for your own joy.
Taking yourself on dates, buying yourself flowers.
Creating that heavenly solo sleepover she describes, going on solo picnics. It's about romanticizing the actions that you take for yourself, elevating self-care into something truly special, something you cherish.
Write yourself a love letter, praise your own wins, become your own source.
Precisely, and that final metaphor is just perfect. The world is like a big dinner party where you are supposed to serve yourself.
Not starve waiting for someone else to fill your plate. Take charge.
It beautifully sums up that message of independence, self-fulfillment, and building that deep, satisfying relationship with yourself.
Wow. What an incredible deep dive into the art of being alone. We've really seen how this thing we often fear, being alone, can actually be transformed, turned into this huge opportunity for discovery, for growth, for real joy.
It really does shift the focus, doesn't it? Away from needing external validation towards finding that deep internal fulfillment. The core message, I think, is that solitude isn't about isolation at all.
It's about connection.
Exactly. Forging that unwavering, profound connection with the one person who's always going to be there. You. So the question for everyone listening is, as you go about your day, what new facet of yourself will you discover today?
A great question to end on. You can grab a copy of The Art of Being Alone from the link in the description. It's definitely worth the read.
Absolutely. And don't forget to subscribe to Books and Bytes for more deep dives into fascinating reads.